Hi, Maggie. It's so wonderful to have you here and be one of our speakers on our summit, Unapologetically You. And for our participants, I would just like to read your bio, Maggie, that you submitted to us. So Maggie Ostara is a recovering academic. She has a PhD. She left her prestigious job as the director of women's and gender study at Columbia University when she realized she wasn't meant to work for anyone else. And she now knows that this is part of her human design. So excited to hear more about this. Maggie is an Amazon #1 bestselling author, an arousing public speaker, beloved teacher, and highly intuitive and skilled mentor and coach. When they work with her, Maggie's clients deepen their sense of destiny and true value, developing their feminine sovereignty and live into their own definitions of success. Oh, Maggie, that is so on point with what I want for the people that I work with as well. That's such a beautiful way of describing it.
Thank you.
Maggie is a certified quantum human design specialist level 4 and a certified clarity breathwork practitioner, a certified radiant body yoga teacher. I didn't realize that. I just noticing this now that you're a yoga teacher. So am I. And a meditation teacher, online education expert, and creator of the 8 pillars of feminine sovereignty and the 6 feminine sovereign archetypes. She served tens of thousands of students and hundreds of clients all over the world through her online programs. She lives on occupied Pomo land in Northern California with her Black feline familiar and her NB20 something. Oh, Maggie, it's wonderful to have you here. And
thank you, Anne. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah,
I'm delighted. I love your topic. Love.
Yes, I do too. So Maggie, we've been asking all of our speakers to just sort of start things off as a jumping off point. What does being unapologetically you mean to you?
It's such a great question. And I love the unapologetically you, because so in human design, you reference this thing in my bio, which is that I'm not designed to work for anybody else, right? And you can imagine that makes me a little bit different than a lot of people, although fewer people are designed to work for others than they might think. And I think that there was periods of my life when I definitely tried to fit in. And I felt like maybe even there were things about me that were character flaws, or there were things that were wrong with me. And when I came to human design, I realized that they're not, they're actually part of my design.
Right.
And what happened is it liberated me to really embrace and be unapologetically me about things that just, I'm not designed to fit in. As it turns out, I'm not designed to fit in. I have a lot of what we call individual circuitry. Right. So I'm here to bring change. I'm here to bring different. I'm part of the evolutionary impulse of the universe. Like that's me. And it's not a character flaw that I don't fit in. Actually, it's what I'm designed to do, what I'm designed to bring. And so for me, being unapologetically me, or you being unapologetically you, of course, I'm a human design expert. So, I like to use that as a modality to be able to reveal deeper truths about ourselves that are often very countercultural, because our conditioning leads us into pretty narrow, paths of how we can grow and develop and create success and be happy and contribute and all that, right? It's pretty narrow. Yeah. And so I really love to help people kind of unleash themselves from their conditioning so that what's actually more true for them can emerge, and they can start to build their lives around that. And that by its nature is going to be unapologetically you. So that's what that means to me.
Oof. I love that. That is so beautiful. And I love the language of unleashing, really removing these restrictions. And that brings up something for me, Maggie, that I've seen, and I totally confess, I am in no way a human design expert. And I mean, this is one of the really beautiful things about having you as part of this summit. But I've also seen where human design is sometimes used by some people that actually feels restrictive. And I mean, some of the reading that I've done, and when you and I talked before, you talked about this very thing, about it actually being a way to remove the restrictions, to actually live fully as we are meant to live, our uniqueness, which is
Absolutely.
just, I mean, the world needs our uniqueness, doesn't it? I mean, we've been given one unique life to live. And this uniqueness, the way the platform that you've used and how you've, incorporated into your understanding and share with others now, is using human design to actually explore what that means. So what is your human design type?
Oh, I'm a generator.
A generator, yeah.
I'm a 3-5 profile. Sorry, I just did a reading for somebody who's a 3-5. I'm a 2-4. I'm a 2-4, and I'm a generator.
Yeah. Well, so I'll share just my experience. I'm a nurse practitioner.
Actually, Anne, can I say one thing? Because I just want to address something that you brought up. I think it's important, which is this thing about human design being restrictive. Just to clear that up a little bit, because my experience is that the founder of human design, the man who received and then developed the system, was fairly deterministic in his point of view. And he was not someone who was in the personal development realm or the spiritual growth realm when he received the system.
Right.
He was like a reluctant mystic, right? And he really understood human design to be fairly deterministic. He used to wear a hat that said "no choice."
Oh, really?
This is who you are, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that was his orientation.
Yeah.
And I bless Ra every chance I get, because he was the conduit and then the cultivator of a system that I think is going to be really revolutionizing our planet. Yeah. And because of his own orientation, he tended to see things as kind of fixed.
Right.
But for me, and for many of us who come to human design more from the personal development realm and spiritual growth realm, like, I don't think anything's fixed.
Right.
Really.
Right.
I think that everything's mutable, and that we are always evolving and everything's always evolving. And I've had the experience myself, and I've helped other people break patterns they've had their entire life. And so I know that things can be changed.
Yeah.
And so I come to the system with a very different background than Ra came to it, right? And so even when I do human design, I don't tell people you are this. I say this is your type, but then I'm always working with people and saying what resonates with you. Does this resonate with you? Because honestly, there are things that don't resonate with people sometimes.
Right.
There are. And I think that they should have the authority to be able to say, this is something I resonate or don't resonate with. Right. And I'm always saying, you're the expert on you, right? I'm here to provide some new perspectives, some new possibilities, to kind of help break you out of some conditioning, but you ultimately are the expert on you. And I don't want you ever to give your power to me. And one of the things I don't like that I see in some parts of the human design community is where people are using human design in a way that gives them power and takes power away from their clients, because they're like saying, well, I know you better than you know yourself.
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. And I also think it's against the premise of human design, because ultimately human design always leads you back to what we call your inner authority,
right?
Your inner knowing. It's not about giving away your power to anything outside of yourself. So I just want to clarify that, because I know some people have come to me and they're like, yeah, so-and-so said I was like, da, 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 and I don't think that. And I'm like, well, maybe you're not. Maybe you're right.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So
that's a great, I'm really glad that you shared that. I mean, that's how where I sort of come from my work as well, is this place of resonance and really knowing each of us having this sense of our own essence. And so using the tool of human design to explore. And I have to say, it's a great curiosity for me. I did not know anything about human design until about 2 years ago. And I was inside of a mastermind. I was introduced to it. And I was like, wow, like this, I've never heard of this. And, but what came from it? So my type is a projector. And I have to say, what totally fascinates me is it explains and feels so true as to why I felt so exhausted and tired and felt like I was driving and pushing myself. I ended up burnt out, just constantly, waking up in the morning thinking, oh my gosh, can I do another day like this? And it wasn't that I wasn't passionate about my work. I loved my work. And there was a lot of doing. I mean, that's how I was sort of structured, grew up. My conditioning that you talked about was to do and tick the boxes of.
Of course. That's how we're all taught. Yeah.
And so it was really beautiful to go like, oh my gosh, what if that isn't what I'm actually meant to be, the doing things? And it fits so well, and allowing me myself the opportunity to have more time to just rest, reflect, time that is downtime, that's not just ticking the boxes, is a whole new experience for me. And I'm practicing with it. And to speak to this issue of resonance, it makes a lot of sense to me. And because of that, I was like, wow, I wonder what else inside of human design. So what do you call the numbers? The two, mine
Profile.
is the profile. So mine is a 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
So role model and hermit, role model and hermit are my two,
lines.
Yes, my lines. Thank you.
Lines.
But as I've read about them, and because I've read a couple of books now, it fascinates me about how the places where I can use this information, feel into it, and use this information to actually live my life, as an entrepreneur, as someone who is a coach, but not step into the overdoing, not step into this, I sort of lived my life being somebody other than a projector.
Yeah, probably as a manifester.
Yeah.
Because we're all trained to be manifestors, pretty much. Okay. Manifestors are the people, they're the only type that's designed to initiate.
All right.
But the interesting thing about manifestors is they're not really designed to be the doers either.
Right.
But a lot of times they are, until they burn out.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the generators and the manifesting generators, we're the doers, because we're the types that have sustainable energy.
Yes.
And about 70% of the population are generators and manifesting generators. And so we have long-term sustainable energy, and provided that we're taking care of ourselves and living in alignment with our design and not initiating too much, right, we have virtually inexhaustible energy.
Yeah.
As long as we're doing the right work. If we're doing the wrong work, then we can get burned out. And I've burned out before, but that was before I knew that I was a generator and I didn't know how to live as a generator.
Right.
So, but projectors do not have long-term sustainable energy. Right. But although projectors are quite different from each other, some people have more energy, some people have less, but you don't have that it's called an engine. It's called the sacral center, and it's the engine, the most powerful engine in the chart. And it's in the belly. It's right in the navel point, which, in yoga, your yoga teacher, we work the navel point, right? Because that's where we build our fire from. Well, that's the sacral center in human design. And so those of us who are generators, it's like that fire is always on, right? And so it gives us long-term sustainable energy. But when projectors, try to keep up with generators, it's like eventually you'll end up on the couch.
Yeah.
At some point.
Indeed. Yeah.
But it's also important to know for projectors, I always like to mention this too, like Barack Obama is a projector.
Yeah.
Okay. Barbara Streisand is a projector. So it's like you can have a big life. You can be very influential. You can make an impact.
Yeah.
And Ra said projectors are designed to be the leaders of the future. That was his take on projectors.
Right.
Partly because they can feel what's going on with generators and help to guide generators.
Right.
And so I always like to say that because sometimes people, actually somebody did this on one of my videos on my YouTube channel, where they had watched a video about manifesting generators. And this person wrote in the comments and said, I'm a projector, bummer. And, and so like, I respond to that person and go, no, it's not a bummer. You just have different superpowers. You're just different.
That's such a very good point, because in some ways I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to like be initiating things. I wait for an invitation, but what does the invitation look like? And so that's where I could get into feeling like, oh no, like I wish I was a different type. So can you say more about, more about this, the energy and how it is different for each of the types? There's generators, there's manifestors, there's projectors, there's manifesting generators, and there's reflectors, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. There's 5 types.
Yeah.
And one comment I want to make about human design in general, because it's different than a lot of other systems, is it's an energy system.
Right.
It's not a personality system.
Right.
Okay. So it's not like Myers-Briggs. It's not like the Enneagram. The Enneagram is kind of energetic also, but it's definitely more of a personality system. It's not like that.
Right.
Okay. Because a lot of times people kind of clump those things together. And human design is a system that helps us understand our energy in a way that's related to, but different from the chakra system.
Right.
Okay. Yep. But it's kind of more in that world than it is in the Myers-Briggs world.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Yep. And because the chakras, right, is yoga, the yogic traditions are all about mapping the human energy fields, and they have multiple maps, not just one.
Yes.
So it works more in that world and more in the world of like Chinese medicine or something like that. So we're mapping our energy, and how does our energy work, and how do we maximize our energy, and how do we minimize the ways that we drain our energy, and like that. Okay. So the 5 types are energy types.
Right.
They're not personality types, although they tend to have personality implications.
Right.
But not always. And the conditioning is a big factor, right? Because like I was just saying, we're mostly conditioned to be manifestors, which is to go out and make stuff happen, right? Initiate, It's like if you want something to happen, you go out and you make something happen.
Yeah.
So most of us are conditioned that that's how we become successful in life. Right. And so we're all kind of dealing with that, right?
Yeah.
So manifestors are the only type that are designed to initiate. And they do have a certain amount of power, and we call manifesting power. But they don't have that long-term sustainable energy that the generators have either. So manifestors are designed to initiate and create waves of energy and waves of opportunity that the rest of us respond to. So then you've got 70% of manifestors are about 8 or 9% of the population. So they are really the ones who, they're kind of the leaders of the past. Okay, they can get kind of a bad rap of being like the dictators or the authoritarians. Okay. And they can be.
Right.
I did a life purpose thing about manifestors on my YouTube channel recently. And there are definitely dictators that I talked about, but there's also people like Al Gore is a manifestor, right? And Zelensky is a manifestor. They actually have very similar human design charts.
Oh, interesting.
Just like Hitler and Putin has very similar human design charts. It's a fascinating thing that he did. Okay, I don't want to get distracted. But anyway, that's a really interesting video because I didn't know what I was going to find before I pulled their charts. And then I went, oh my goodness. So anyway, so manifestors have that kind of like, they're here to make an impact, right? And then we generators, we're designed to respond. And so we respond to the waves that manifestors make. And we go, oh, wow, what's going on? Okay. So we are the sacral center that I was talking about is responsive. And so our role is to be tuning into what's going on in our outer reality and to be tuning into what the flow of life is bringing to us, right? What is spirit telling us? And then to respond to that. And when we have an idea or a desire or something like that, we kind of go, okay, spirit, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm desiring. Okay, bring me something to respond to. And then we wait until we have something to respond to. Well, I know when I first learned I was a generator, I was like, that can't be accurate because I had been initiating my whole life. But then I realized, yeah, I burned out 3 times too. Maybe there's something to this. So I really set myself the challenge of responding. And what I realized is that there was a lot for me to respond to all the time. I just wasn't thinking about things that way. Right. And so when you really get tapped into that flow of life, like Darla, right? Like Darla says, when you're tapped into source, source will bring you things to respond to, just like source will bring projectors invitations.
Right.
So, but for generators and for manifesting generators, our role is to be tuning in to what's happening. And then we build, we're builders, we're creators, you know, and in a sense, we do make stuff happen, but not in that initial initiating way.
Right.
It's more like we get something and we respond to it and we get this, yeah, that's good. And then we initiate. But we start with response.
Right. Oh, what a beautiful distinction. I really
we start with response, but once we get so our inner authority goes, it's trusting your gut, or it goes, which sometimes means it's not the right time.
Right.
Anyways, when we get that, then we can initiate. But the same thing is true with projectors. Projectors, once they get invited, and they get that inner sense, so they have a different kind of inner authority. But when they get the clarity that, oh, yes, this is something to move forward with, then they can initiate. So it's not that you don't ever initiate. I mean, you and your partner initiated doing this summit, right?
Yes.
But you were probably invited, you know, by your coach to do something to expand your community.
Yes.
Right? You were invited to expand your community and you're like, oh, okay. Now it's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. That feels really right. I'm going to do that. And then you get to initiate.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't ever initiate. It's how you enter into things.
Right.
And especially how you enter into important things and big things.
Yeah.
Like starting a new business or starting a relationship or buying a house or moving to a new place or having a baby or right. Those big things for projectors, those are like, you don't have to be invited like to go to a movie.
Right.
You can just decide you want to go to a movie.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to be invited to decide what to have for dinner.
Right.
Right. No, not so much. It's more like the bigger things. And so manifesting generators are a little bit different than generators because they're really, really fast and they tend to skip steps. Generators tend to be a little more methodical, and manifesting generators, because they also have that manifesting energy, they're like, oh, they're super fast, right? And they skip steps.
Right.
And sometimes that's great because they create shortcuts.
Right.
Other times they go, oops, I skipped something kind of important, and then they have to go back and do it. Right. So yeah. And the conundrum for manifesting generators sometimes is that because they have that manifesting energy, they want to act like a manifester, but they can burn themselves out that way. And they can also spin in circles that way. And so they do better when they respond too.
Right.
Projectors do really well when projectors are really sensitive to the energy of generators because they don't have that sacral energy, right? So they feel that sacral energy of the generators and they can go, oh, you know, you support clients, right? You can feel, probably most of your clients are generators because most of the population are generators. You can kind of feel how they're using that energy and you can guide them and say, you know, I think it might be better if you go this way than that way.
Yeah.
Right. You can just kind of feel it, right? Yeah. It's an energetic resonance, right, that you have with your people. And so that's why they're more guides. So you're not here to do all that work that generators are doing. You can do work, absolutely. I mean, Barack Obama, Barbara Streisand, they did a lot of work,
Yeah.
but they also had a bunch of people who
Yes.
were helping them. They
Yeah.
weren't doing everything on their own, right? And then our fifth type are reflectors, and reflectors are that, well, and projectors are about 20% of the population. So they're a significant part. And then the reflectors have what we call a completely open chart, like they don't have any of the centers defined. I know you might not know what that means, but the basic idea of that is that they are very sensitive and they pick up energy from the environment and then they reflect it back out. So one of the things that they do is they help a community, could be a family, could be a neighborhood, could be a workplace that they're a part of, could be the world. They reflect back the health of that community.
Oh, wow.
Because they're sensitive. And so it's very important for reflectors, to be in the right place with the right people.
Right.
Because if they're not, it's really hard on them because they're taking in other people's energy.
Right.
So they need a lot of time alone so that they can let other energy out. But they can also be enormously powerful because when they're around other people, they take in the energy and they amplify it. So they light up like a Christmas tree, like, right?
Wow.
But they can't maintain that.
Right.
So, so they're here to let us know kind of what's going on in the community that they're a part of.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing a lot of this, and I can't believe how much our time is just like slipping away here. We could have such a long conversation, but I'm hearing about relationships. It's coming through about these different types.
Each
And
have a role. We
yes.
each have a role in kind of the larger whole of humanity.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like those waves that manifestors create and generators and manifesting generators respond to also create more waves that are invitations for projectors, and then reflectors take it in and then they reflect it back out and they let us know what's going on. Right. So we all absolutely, we are not isolated islands at all.
Right.
I mean, we kind of get taught that, that we're like individuals and, our destiny is up to us and all of that. But, really, we're all interconnected all the time.
Yes.
We're all part of a whole. And so human design helps us see according to the types, which is only just one part, but it is a very, very vital part of the whole system, how we kind of relate to each other.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, this would apply, for partners, like life partners, children, right? I mean, all of the
people you work with.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
yeah.
so I can see so many implications and the use for being aware of our human design that gives us this sense of moving forward, of living into who we are and, relating to people, working with, building partnerships or relationships or not, depending on our design type.
Well, and it helps us really depersonalize things and helps us understand things as energy.
Yes.
So, for example, there's a woman where I've worked with for over 10 years now. Okay. She's like my tech support person. She's a manifesting generator, one of the fastest manifesting generators according to type in her chart. And she's so fast and she makes mistakes. And until I saw her design, I would get annoyed because she'd miss stuff. Right. And then when I saw her chart, I was like, oh, of course. Right. And it completely depersonalized the whole thing. And then I got to recalibrate my strategy about how I worked with her to appreciate her speed, which I'd always appreciated anyway, but I really appreciated it. And to go, okay, so a part of that is that she's going to miss things because she's working so fast. Right.
Yes.
That's what manifesting generators do. Or there was a man I was in relationship with before a few years ago, and I found out he was a manifester. And then I was like, oh, yeah, of course, that's why he acts that way, right? Because he's just like all about impact, barreling forward. He actually works on the world stage, and so he's great in that thing. And it was a little hard close up because it was like, whoa, right? But it helped depersonalize it for me. And I went, oh, that's just how he is.
Oh, that's
right.
really beautiful.
And it helps us appreciate and love each other for how we are. And then, and realize, what, it's not personal. It's like Lisa doesn't make mistakes personally. It's just a part of her type.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I learned something really, and we're going to have to start to wind this up, unfortunately, but I learned something about time for me. I've always struggled with time. Like, oh my gosh, I mean, something people will say, my family will say to me, we never can count on you to be on time. And I've struggled and struggled and struggled with this. How can I make, be on time? Well, I read that actually that is one of the pieces of my design. And so, but what it helped me to do was not to sort of blame myself or like, okay, that is a thing. And I don't have to wear it with shame. I can be like, okay, that's part of my design. How can I actually implement things so that time isn't this continual battle of trying to get places on time? Actually put in some structure in place, but it took this sort of shame away from it.
Exactly. And just to tie back to what I said at the beginning about how I used to think I had character flaws.
Yes.
Like you probably thought the fact that you're not on time is a character flaw.
Yes.
It's not a character flaw. It's part of your design. Right. But we live in a world that conditions us to think that being on time, time is a human construct anyway. That's a whole other conversation. But right. I mean, this idea of being on time is partly how you show up as a responsible person, right? I mean, who made up that rule, right? That's just something that got made up, right? And then here you are trying to fit yourself into it, but you're not designed that way. You're designed to be much more flowing. It probably has to do with your spleen. I'll just say, I don't know. I haven't seen your chart, so I don't know. But so when we realize these things, and when we can also say it to other people and say, what, this is just how I'm made up.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make myself wrong for it anymore. And I'm going to invite you to please accept this about me and know that it's not personal. I'm not doing it because I'm disrespecting you.
Yes. Oh, which brings me right back to this whole idea of unapologetically being who we are, all of us, right? All parts of us, the parts that maybe we love, the parts of us that maybe are parts of our design that we've sort of looked at. I don't know if I really like that part of me, but we can say yes to it all. It is all part of it, and live fully as we are, unapologetically, claim and step into life fully as we are. I would love to hear, Maggie, if you have any sort of last gems or pieces. We've dropped so many beautiful pieces of information about this. I mean, we could just talk for such a long time, but some closing pieces. And then you have a gift for our participants. And I wondered if you would share what that is.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to suggest that you are absolutely perfect the way that you are. And that you're also in the process of evolution. And both are true. And we don't have to make aspects of ourselves wrong or bad in order to want to grow them. Right?
Beautiful. Oh, that's...
And one of the things that human design shows us is what the evolutionary process is, because every aspect of the chart has different expressions. Some of them are more empowered, some of them are more disempowered, some of them are more shadow.
Right.
And so sometimes we're acting out the shadow aspect of something without knowing that that's what we're doing.
Right.
But then human design can say, okay, well, you're doing it that way, but you could do it this way.
Right.
And then you go, oh, I could just change that energy. Like it's the same energy, but I'm interpreting it and I'm expressing it. I'm not going to express it that way. I'm going to express it this way. And that's your soul curriculum in human design or your evolutionary process. And
Yeah.
that's through over 100 different archetypes. So it's a lot that you can be doing this with.
Yeah.
So you can be accepting yourself and also saying, you know, I like the thing you say, I don't really like this part or something. You say, okay, well, maybe you're expressing a disempowered part of that energy.
Mm.
And what if you were to flip it around? And then all of a sudden your whole experience changes. But it's not because something's wrong with you.
Oh,
It's because you were expressing it in a way where you weren't so empowered. We
right.
all have it.
Yeah.
You know, everybody does. And so you're already perfect.
Yeah.
And you also get to grow and
Mm.
evolve and become, you get to grow yourself into the potential of who you can be. And that's what I do with people is I'm like, I want to help you grow into the potential of you can be. And human design is a great tool for that. So that is a huge way that you can stop apologizing. And women apologize all the time. It's like,
Right.
sometimes people say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, why? You didn't do anything wrong.
Oh,
You know, women were really, you know, cultured into apologizing for ourselves. It's almost like you're apologizing for taking up space. You know, it's like,
yes.
I'm like, take up space.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say is you're already perfect and you're growing. And, you know, whether you're attracted to human design or not, find your soul curriculum, you know,
Mm.
find your evolutionary path and follow it.
Yeah.
But don't make yourself wrong while you're doing it and don't apologize.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's just beautiful. What a beautiful sort of pulling this all together. And what flows from this is possibility.
Absolutely.
Like it's inspired possibility
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
is just, you've just dropped here, which is so, so beautiful.
Yeah. So if you want to know more about human design, you can go and get your chart at yourfreehumandesignchart.com. Yourfreehumandesignchart.com. Now it's kind of long, but it's also simple, all one word. And on that page, you can put in your birth information and then it'll give you your chart and you can download it. And in addition to that, you'll also receive a ebook that I created called Getting Started with Human Design, and it'll teach you what's on the chart. And then there's a reflection journal that helps you kind of dig into what is it that you're longing for when you're interested in human design, right? And so it'll help you kind of dig into that a bit. And then also look at your chart and look at the book and help you kind of put those pieces together so you can understand a little bit more about it. So that's all free and you can get it at yourfreehumandesignchart.com. And, you know, the other thing I'll just say too is, you know, I have a YouTube channel. If you just put in Maggie Ostara in YouTube, it'll come up. And there's a lot of videos there about
Yes.
and feminine sovereignty also.
That's beautiful, Maggie. I have been on your YouTube channel and it is amazing being able to find and just watch the pieces of the teaching that you've done. They're absolutely beautiful. And thank you for such a beautiful gift. The opportunity to sort of, if you're brand new to human design, to dip your toe in and explore what this is. I am totally fascinated by it. And I'm loving to learn more about it. And your YouTube channel is just a wealth of information that is free, available to watch and see. And of course, you know, this is your work as well. So obviously people can find you. And we'll be posting these links for people.
Great. Yeah. And I would love to support anybody. If you know, I do readings, I work with private clients. I have programs. I actually have a program, my Activate Your Superpowers class. It's just starting up in May, and that's an introduction to human design. So if you already know some human design, but you really want kind of a sense of the gestalt of it, you know, the whole piece of it, because I find a lot of times people kind of, you know, they read a book here, they watch a video there, and then they kind of get more confused. And so, well, it's understandable, right? Especially if they're learning from different people, because different people have different, you know, takes on it.
Yes.
So anyway, if they're interested in that, they can also contact me about that. So
beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Maggie. This has been so beautiful to chat with you. really grateful for joining us here and sharing your wisdom and your beautiful person with
Thank
us and
you.
our participants.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for putting together this summit. I think it's going to be really beneficial to people who are watching. And I appreciate that you took the initiative to do that. Yeah. Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, wonderful to have you.